'Tis the season when life gets really busy, yet you're still trying to figure out how to get dinner on the table every night. I got you covered. I've got 5 easy dinner recipes with 2 magic words, make ahead. And I'm starting with a slow cooker Thai style chicken. That's going to be delicious. It's made with just some inexpensive chicken thighs and some pantry staples. You can do this. So one way you can prep for the crock pot is you can throw everything into a Ziploc bag and stick it in your fridge and then dump it in before you go to work the next day. You're gonna start with like about 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And then we're just flavoring it. So this is like a Thai style. Think of like pad Thai where you've got kind of that like peanut flavor, but you also got a lot of like sweet and savory going on at the same time too. An interesting ingredient that this recipe starts with is jarred salsa. So you just want 3/4 cup of whatever salsa. It recommends a hot salsa, but if you don't like, spice, you could go a medium. And then coconut milk. Recipe calls for light coconut milk. I always do full fat coconut milk. It's just better. All right, and then peanut butter. Calls for crunchy, chunky peanut butter. About 1/4 cup. I love it. So you've got like sweet, spicy, and salty going on right here. And then soy sauce. I'm going in with like 2 to 3 tablespoons. And a little sugar to balance this out. All right, and then we'll freshen it up. So I'm also gonna add in some fresh ginger and fresh lime juice. Get you a piece, peel it with a spoon, and then I like to use my microplane or a grater and just kind of grate it in. All of these come together in the prep part super quickly. So this really is something, you could prep all 5 of these dinners on a Sunday and then you don't have to cook the rest of the week basically. And then a couple tablespoons of fresh lime juice. All right, that's it. I'm gonna get this all zhuzhed up and mixed well to the fridge or the freezer, and meal number 1 is prepped and ready. Slow cooker, Thai style chicken going in. Just dump it, toss the bag, and as the kids say, let it cook. Dinner number 1 is done. Ooh, look at this. I can smell that peanut. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of break up this chicken a little bit. Check the seasoning. So much flavor going on. It needs just a little bit more salt. Here's how we're gonna serve it up. Over rice, because you need something to absorb all that liquid gold in there. And here's how you want to top it. Fresh cilantro leaves. You gotta like everything that makes that perfect bite. A good squeeze of lime and some chopped peanuts. I know this is a perfect bite right here. Just like that. That chicken literally melts in your mouth. I think that coconut milk just kind of like tenderizes it, even though chicken thighs are already pretty tender. This is the something different you want to add to your weekly rotation. It's way easier, way faster, and way cheaper than takeout. All right, when I'm planning a week's worth of meals, I always gotta, honor the Taco Tuesday in some way, shape, or form. And for this make-ahead dinner, it is hot tamale pie. This is a recipe from the ever so famous Chef John.
Hot tamale pie.
This does require, a tiny bit of cooking to prep, but you get this in the casserole dish. He says you can freeze it unbaked or baked. So you can go ahead and bake it and then just reheat it, or you can do what we're gonna do. We're gonna layer it all up and then bake it when we're ready. So let's cook. I'm just gonna start by browning my ground beef. I'm using a non-stick skillet, so I'm not going to add any oil in here. I'll end up deglazing that later. Once your meat is browned, go in with some poblano pepper. This has a better flavor than a green bell pepper. They're just as inexpensive. We have a couple teaspoons of chili powder, just about a 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika, and then a little bit of oregano. And then you'll see I've created some flavor around the edges of the pan. And now in goes a jar of salsa. This is going to deglaze the pan with the acid from these tomatoes, and it also adds great flavor to this. So easy. All right, and then I'm just gonna cook this for about 2 or 3 minutes till those peppers soften. And that's our filling. Now we build our tamale pie. One of my favorite shortcuts to help build this tamale pie, the old jiffy cornbread mix. So you're gonna mix up 2 packages separately. One's gonna be on the bottom and one's gonna be on the top, just according to package directions, which is simply 1 egg and 1/3 cup of milk per package. So a tamale pie is really meant to kind of taste like the inside of a tamale in a much easier package. Okay, so baking dish. All right, grease it. All right, so you spread this on the bottom. Then over that layer, 8 ounces of frozen corn that has been thawed, and then a little bit of Monterey Jack cheese and cheddar cheese. Use half the cheese now and we'll put half on top. And then our beef mixture on top of that. This is one of your like comfort meals, you know. All right, now mix up the second box a little bit differently. The egg and the milk, but we're also gonna stir in the cheeses into this layer. This right on top, and you wanna leave like a 1/2 inch around the outside. So you don't have to go like quite all the way to the edge. If you're not doing this as meal prep, you can go straight into the oven at this point, 350 degrees for about 50 to 60 minutes. But because we are meal prepping this, I'm just going to cover it at this point and keep it in the fridge until I'm ready to bake it. Our Taco Tuesday meal is prepped and ready to go. Tamale pie's been chilling. Now it's ready to bake. Gonna uncover it, pop it in, 350 degrees for about an hour. Hot tamale. Told you Chef John knows what he's doing. Look at this beauty. By the look of the bubbles, it's telling me I'm gonna have to wait a few minutes before I can do yam. But I'm loving the golden crust and the meat peeking out. It's just what you think of when you hear the words tamale pie. Oh yeah. I feel the need to top it with just a little sour cream and hot sauce. Definitely one of the better ones I've had. The cornbread on the very bottom and on the very top gets that crust to it, so it's like a little bit crispy, but then you have creamy. And then you have that little like fresh little bits of corn in there. This feeds my family with leftovers for sure. I'll be making it again. This next recipe understands the assignment. It is titled Make-Ahead Manicotti. Need I say more? This is a meatless option. However, you could always add in ground Italian sausage or ground beef to this if you want. Starts with a container of ricotta cheese. And then to that, I'm adding in a package, a 10-ounce box of frozen spinach that has been thawed and drained really well, along with some mozzarella cheese and some grated parm. The recipe calls to add sugar. At this point, I'm not going to do that. Salt and pepper. I'm also inclined to add in a little garlic powder. Mix it up. 2 eggs go in. The egg just helps hold it all together so that the cheese doesn't just run out when you go to bake it. All right, that's it. Now, what's so magical about this recipe is you do not have to pre-cook the manicotti shells. We're going to stuff them in while they're uncooked. All right, so you should be able just to use a small spoon for this since they are still really firm and it's a lot easier to get the filling in there. So I find it's easy to go in one side, and then when you see it's halfway through, just flip it over. Instead of trying to push it all the way through, just turn your shell over and fill it up from the other end. Okay, so as I fill, I'm just gonna layer them right into the casserole dish. You wanna put a little bit of your sauce. You're just using 1 big jar of pre-made marinara sauce, or you can use your own homemade. So we're gonna pour like a 1/2 cup down at the bottom, and then start layering our shells right in. Okay, so once we lay them in, we're going to pour the sauce over the top. And these are Make-Ahead because it does need to sit in the refrigerator for several hours because they are not cooked. And so during that sit time, they're gonna absorb some of that sauce and start to soften the pasta. And then when it bakes, it'll finish the process. Cover and let it sit. Again, fastest manicotti I've ever made. 3 and done. All right, for the manicotti, you're gonna bake it at 400 degrees for about 40 minutes or so covered, and then I'll uncover it, sprinkle a little more cheese on it, and finish baking. Look at that. That pasta has absorbed that sauce, and then we have a cheesy, tomatoey kind of topping right there. That's gonna be good. Can freshen it up with a little parsley or fresh basil if you want. Serve that up with a little salad. Well, it cuts with your fork, so it does show you how tender that pasta is. That's quite delightful. Starting with it the way we did, and just letting it absorb naturally as it cooks. Takes on the flavor of the sauce. It's perfectly cooked. Inside creamy, perfect bite. Might want to add this one into your rotation. We are making easy, slow cooker ham and potato soup. This next one is another little crock pot dinner, but I'm prepping it a different way. It is the ultimate dump, dump, go. It starts with cooked ham. You're gonna dice up a couple cups of ham and then some celery and onion, and then a bag of hash brown potatoes. It is simply garlic powder and a little salt and pepper. All right, and then I'm going to dump over the chicken broth, and that's it. Like, did you blink? Because if you did, you probably missed it. And that's it. So this is how I meal prep things for the slow cooker. Cover it with plastic or just pop the lid on. That's it. It's ready when you are. Time for potato soup. All we have to do, set it and forget it. About a half an hour before your soup is done or before you're ready to eat, you're going to open it and add in some cream cheese and cheddar cheese. Oh yeah, and the potatoes start to break down and it's already taken on a creaminess on its own. And then I'm gonna put the lid back on. You can go on low for another half hour or so, or just until you're ready to eat. Yes, 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 yes. Velvety, smooth and creamy. And it smells like a loaded baked potato. A little cheese and a little green onion and maybe a little cracked pepper. The shortcut of the frozen hash browns is just genius. This tastes like the ultimate loaded baked potato with also like a little southern flair with that ham in there. The perfect thing to do with any leftover ham this year. That's like a warm hug. For my final trick, how does breakfast for dinner sound? I'm making a Make-Ahead sausage and spinach breakfast casserole. Okay, so I've just started by browning some breakfast sausage. The recipe does call for canned mushrooms. I'm not gonna do that, okay. So I'm going to add some mushrooms into our sausage mixture, some fresh mushrooms. I'm just gonna cook this down until the mushrooms are soft, and then it's just building it in a casserole dish, but this has a little magic trick in this recipe that I'm excited to try. All right, everything has come together and now all we have to do is build it. The genius move for this casserole is instead of bread that you normally have in a lot of breakfast casseroles, croutons, seasoned croutons. I love these things. Not only in the salad, but I like the fact that they're cheap. 2.5 cups, and then we're going to put our sausage mixture over the breadcrumbs. And then make the egg mixture to just pour on top. Another box of frozen chopped spinach that has been thawed and drained, and then 4 eggs. See, it's only 4 eggs for this whole casserole, so I just don't think of it as a breakfast casserole. All right, then a can of cream of mushroom soup going in, and some milk. Recipe says 2.5 cups, and we'll start with 2. Also a little dry mustard, very classic in these breakfast casseroles. And a little bit goes a long way, just about a 1/4 teaspoon. Just have to do a little salt. Can't help myself. Just another little pinch or 2, and a little pepper. And I'm also gonna stir in the cheeses into this part. We're using cheddar and Monterey Jack again, so if you are prepping all these meals like I did today, then you could just buy like 1 block of each and use it for 2 recipes. All right, now this is, you know, one of those casseroles that's going to do better as it soaks. So this is truly a perfect make-ahead meal. You could do it the night before. You could even do this one probably up to 2 days before and just let it soak for a couple days. Our final make-ahead meal is done. See how easy your weeks are gonna be with these tricks. For this one, just gonna uncover it. This one's going to bake at 325 for about an hour. See, this is the ultimate breakfast for dinner right here. Hot, bubbly goodness. Let's see what kind of magic those croutons made. When it comes to breakfast casseroles, I always have a bottle of hot sauce beside me, so I'm gonna top it with a little bit of that and a little fresh parsley. You get a little bit of everything. I'm really curious about that crouton. I was right. This does not feel like a breakfast casserole, which is why it is the perfect choice for an easy make-ahead weeknight dinner. It feels very hearty, very healthy. You've got like the meat, but that spinach and those mushrooms kind of just add so much like hearty meatiness to it. Good one. We did it. These are 5 great recipes that will make your busy lives a whole lot easier, and I hope you are now no longer intimidated by the words meal prep. This is hardly meal prep. It involved minimal cooking with a whole lot of deliciousness. I might be a little tired because I made them and ate them all in one day, but you can do this.